with the biggest draft weekend in fantasy baseball season coming up this weekend. Matt and I are going to recap every single position for you guys and break down the movers, the shakers, and everything else on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominick Martino, not Christopher Walken. I've been watching a little too much Severance. I threw on the Christopher Walken at the beginning there, but you can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ahne, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ahne. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It's going to subscribe you to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. Or if you're listening on the audio side of things on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly, truly appreciate it if you could do that for us as well. And once again, guys, I know most of us are drafting this weekend. Matt and I have drafts pretty much the whole weekend. And if you need that secret weapon, that competitive edge to beat all of your league mates and walk out of your draft feeling as good as possible, give Matt and I a chance on the Subtext platform. Through Subtext, once you subscribe, you get access to Matt and I's 2025 rankings, sleepers, breakouts, bust. You're going to get text messaging alerts going right to your phone. Nobody else in the industry is offering that. And then again, it's just going to be your secret weapon. So once again, give us a chance on Subtext. The link is in the bio where you're listening, watching, or it's available on any of our social media platforms. And when you do join us on Subtext, if you share any of our posts on any of our social media platforms, each time you do, it gives you a draw into the entry to get into our listener league. There's limited spots left. We're going to be announcing the last final participants this upcoming week, probably early in the week, because we're going to draft before opening day. So give us a chance there, and you get access to that as well. Once again, link is in bio for Subtext, wherever you're listening, watching, available on any of our social media platforms. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when you place your first $5 bet. When your first $5 bet wins on FanDuel, so join today. In which all the March Madness going on, why wouldn't you want to miss out on FanDuel? All right, Matt, this is a fun episode. We're doing something a little bit different here. So if you missed out on any of our position preview episodes, right, or even if you were there, did watch them, there's been some guys that have risen, some guys that have fallen, some guys that Matt and I have just completely changed our opinions about. So we're going to go through each position, and we're going to try and highlight a couple of guys, whether it's for the good or the bad, and kind of break down why our opinion has changed or our ranking has changed. So Matt, you lead the way here. You can take your pick, start wherever you want. If you got a guy lined up, let's talk about it.
Yeah, so I do want to talk about this is going to blow your mind, actually.
Let's go for it.
Bichette.
Oh, okay.
So if you're an avid, everydayer, or what my stance has been on Bo for, the last couple of years, and quite honestly, he's never really showed anything of real value the last couple of years, even in spring, where he kind of looks like not like the guy that we saw, back in 2022, where Bo just went off and we thought, oh, okay, this kid's, one of the future players of the league. But, this spring got me turning around. Also, the options that are available also kind of hurts. So Bo becomes relevant for me. So this spring, he has 41 at bats. He has 9 runs, 8 singles, 3 doubles, 4 bombs, 9 ribs, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts, a stolen base, and he's batting 366 right now. OBP of 422, a slug of 732, and an OPS of 1154. So the stat line actually looks good. So I kind of want to I kind of moved him up a lot, actually, with Horner being hurt. Even with Matt, as much as I like Matt Shaw, who I got to add to the shortstop rankings these days, Neto being down, McLean still being unproven. I feel like, okay, I'd feel a lot better with the way he's performing and with at least somewhat of a track record to get him in my top 12. So he's actually 12 right now, wildly enough, where he hasn't been in my top 12, I think, in 3 years. So Bichette, honestly, I think might have a decent season, or at least a decent start, as to where, okay, if I go out and I take a shot on a Matt Shaw, or I take a shot on, getting a Nico Horner, waiting for him to come back, and I see what I have in Bichette, I'm not really mad at it. they're both coming at a pretty decent discount. I can get both of them and see which one pans out towards the end, towards the middle of the season, and then kind of move from there. So Bo is kind of like a guy that really has risen up in my rankings as of today.
Yeah, man, I'm with you on Bo. I have him at 12. I want to say this, like early, Matt and I, are fantasy baseball addicts, like, you guys are as well. So we start our rankings really early, like December, and I had Bo really low at shortstop. Matt, I'm in sync with you now, and we're both in sync with ADP. I have Bo Bichette at exactly 12 at shortstop. I could even see him moving him up one spot even because of the good spring. The thing is, if you go back and look at Bo Bichette's track record, it's really, really good. He's always been around a 300 hitter. He 3 years in his career, 2 years with 298 and 290 until last year. He's a big runs guy. He hits near the top of that lineup if doesn't lead off. He's had good RBI years, 2 out of his 3 full seasons. He's definitely got pop. The thing that Bo Bichette never really had, he's never really been fast. He's been more of the opportunity type stealer. So I don't foresee him, coming back to over 10 steals. But can he give you 90 plus runs with 25-ish homers, with 80 RBIs and a 300 batting average? Yeah, of course he can. He's proven it time and time again throughout his career. And I honestly think even drafting him at 11 or 12 might not even be the right move. He might have to even go a little bit higher than that just because of how stable he actually is. I think we get blinded sometimes. We get caught up in the moment as, that what happens with fantasy baseball. You go from game to game. Guy goes on a bad streak for like 3-4 games, especially at the beginning of the year. We get caught very off guard. And then when we come from one year into the next, you go back and you're doing your rankings and, Bo Bichette had a horrible year last year and all the underlying stuff looks bad. And sometimes we get to look back. Sometimes we don't look back at previous years. Bo Bichette was an all-star in 2021 and 2023 and had a monster season in 2022 as well. So there's no reason not to believe that at 27 years old that he's not going to be at somewhat of his old self again, And he only played 81 games last year, dealt with injury. I think he has every reason to be drafted within the top 12, if not even closer to the top 10 when everything's said and done. By this time next year, Bo Bichette might be a top 8 shortstop, maybe even better than that. Who knows? The kid does have good talent. If you look at the underlying stuff in 23, the X batting average was 312, had a good slugging percentage, exit velocity, hard hit rate. The sweet spot was excellent. So he just does a lot of good stuff. He doesn't whiff and strike out a lot either. Just a lot of good things to like about Bo Bichette. So I don't think we should be undervaluing him anymore. So Matt, I'm right there with you on that.
I mean, I will say this, like it's been a trend from like peak and then just like slowly declining. Even with the 84 games, the pace was kind of ugly going even into last year. Even if he played the full season, you just double the numbers, would have left him with like 8 home runs, 62 ribs, 60 runs, like batting. Well, I'll give him a little bit better batting average because I think he's better than that. A 250 batting average that really wasn't valuable for fantasy. So, we've just seen a decline. Maybe injury may take out the injury. Maybe, you throw on, 17 home runs and maybe a couple more runs and ribs, but that's really about it. You didn't see this going into last season, though, the spring performance. And that's the biggest difference. Bo, I think, is performing, maybe has something to prove. I don't know if we're going to be saying he's going to be a top 8, shortstop by the end of this year, but I think that he's at least worth drafting now where, if you asked me like a couple weeks ago, I'd probably be like, yeah, I'd avoid him like the plague, worse than COVID. Let's put it that way. So, Bo is somebody you definitely want to take a look at this year. But here's the deal. We spent a lot of time on him, which is fine. Coming up next, we're gonna probably pick one of Dom's guys, see, really who moved up or down in his rankings and for whatever reason. Coming up next.
And all right, folks, it's that time of year, and March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beat to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. Picking my favorites, I've got, a few guys that I've got my eyes on this year, a couple underdogs, a couple different teams that, I think might get it done. And FanDuel makes it super easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. And, with their tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. FanDuel makes it easy and fast with their app. It's always so simple. And when I use it and I win, I get paid instantly. There's no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoop action all tournament long. Once again, FanDuel.com for all your March Madness bets. And all right, guys, I also got to talk to you about my friends over at Game Time. And they have this new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. With Game Time Picks curation, it makes it easier to save even more on sports, concert, comedy, and theater. Game Time has plenty of great features as well, including their all-in pricing. When you toggle this feature, it shows you the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. With their seat views, you get a panoramic view from the actual seat you'll be sitting in in the app before you buy. With their lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And with Game Time's ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. And all right, Matt, let's move along a little bit here. We'll try and fit a bunch of names in here. I got a shortstop real quick. Let's talk about Jeremy Pena. Jeremy Pena is a funny one, man. He's still 27 years old. He's been up in the bigs, 3 years, and it's just been an interesting case. After his rookie year, we were all excited about him. He was like, he's got so much potential and upside, and then he goes into year 2 and 22 home runs in 136 games in his first year, only hit 10 in 150 games. Then came into 2024 last year, played even more games, 157 games, 15 78 runs, 6 steals, and he hit 266. I just feel like this year the value's right. If you need a backup shortstop, you're in a deeper league, you got middle infield, AL only. Jeremy Pena's ADP right now, 21st shortstop, pick 187. I have him around 18, 17 at shortstop, still trying to finalize his position. But you know what? It's kind of like, you lose Kyle Tucker over there. They need guys to step up. And I feel like it's time for Jeremy Pena. Like Michael doesn't do more this year. I just feel like I'm going to be out totally because, he's at that age, 28 years old. And he really needs to show us more because he's just on the verge of being such a really good fantasy player. Once again, 15 homers, 20 steals last year, 266, 78 and 70. It's he's right on the verge. If he gave us the 2020, 85 RBIs, 90 runs, 270, man, he'd be way closer to a top 10 shortstop. And I think that's in the realm of possibilities with the guy. As far as where he's sitting in the lineup this year, looks like maybe the 6th hole. There could be potential for him to move up. Jose Altuve is 35 years old. I don't foresee him staying healthy, and then they got him in left field now, and the guy can't play a lick of defense out there. Not like he was able to play a lick of defense at second last year, but I just think there's a world where Jeremy Pena gives you that ROP that Matt always talks about, where he's being drafted around pick 200. I think there is upside. So he's been somebody that's been moving up for me this offseason.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like it. I like what he's doing. Maybe it was just a sophomore slump, and maybe this is the year. It's definitely interesting. I can't really, say otherwise other than, hey, the team isn't the same. Like you said, he needs to step up. But great job, Dom. I'm trying to look for my next guy here without trying to repeat anybody else that we've kind of talked about. And I guess I'm going to go with Christopher Sanchez of the Philadelphia Phillies. He's having a monster spring. He had a really good year last year. 16 innings pitched, 19 Ks, an ERA of 1.62. a whip of .84. He's looking real good. Hasn't given up a home run. Only had 3 earned runs throughout all his innings. Like, he's looking really good. He's picking up right where he left off, essentially. Yeah, he kind of slowed down a little bit at some point last year, but I think that there's just that level to him that I think we're all just waiting for. And I think this might be the year. Christopher Sanchez posted up a nice little, stat line last year because he had 181 innings pitched, most innings he's ever pitched in a single season, 153 strikeouts, a 3.32 ERA with a 1.24 whip. The whip is really high, but I like the ERA. I like the the Ks. I'd like to see obviously a little bit more K per inning, but I think he'll probably get closer to that, but maybe not fully. Like, if you look at his career so far, he's always been about, like, I would say 3 or 4 Ks off his total innings per pitch, which is fine. I'll take that. If he can get right up to like almost a K per inning, I'm not mad at it. I think the ERA is going to be nice. He pitches well in Citizen Bank Park. He doesn't really fall into it. The team's really good, so he should win, a decent amount of games. He won 11 last year. I think they'll win more. If we could see that whip dip, he's going to be more on the elite side. He's pitching really well this offseason. And again, you look at what he's doing in this off season, and you really can't get mad because, again, he's already showing that he can have more than a K per inning. But this is a short sample size. Let's hope he can continue this trend. He's looking really good. So just keep an eye out for him. Draft him when you can. I think the price is actually pretty reasonable on him, and he might be somebody that you might be starting all year long.
Yeah, I'm a little lower on Christopher Sanchez. I do like him and do think he's a good pitcher. But like you highlighted actually some of the reasons I'm not a huge fan. The whip his whole career. He had a good 2023, but last year went up to the 1.24, like you mentioned. K per 9, took a step back last year as well as the innings went up. The ERA was really good. 11 wins, like you said, on the Phillies team would have expected a little bit more. I just like to throw my darts in different ways. You have the Yeti going after him. You got guys like Gavin Williams going after him, Woodruff, going after him. Just kind of would like to throw my dart in other directions. But he's not somebody I hate. I'm not mad if that's your guy and you want to take him there. I just like to go at different directions at that point. But let's keep things pushing. Let's try and cover, a few different names here. I'm going to try and grab myself a starting pitcher here too, somebody that we haven't spoken about too much. And honestly, I'm going to go to a corny one here, Matt. And, actually, we talked about him the other day. Damn, so I can't even do him. Let's do Grant Holmes. Let's talk about Grant Holmes from the Atlanta Braves. He's somebody last year that, it kind of came out of nowhere a little bit. Had, a lot of mixed bags. Overall, it's a pretty good season for Grant Holmes. And you know what? He's having a good spring too. So, he's got that rotation spot there in Atlanta. 6 foot, righty, 226 pounds. Like I said, having a good spring so far. 1.76 ERA, 15 innings, 12 strikeouts, a 104 whip. And that's across, facing 62 batters. So that's a good amount, this spring. And last year, 7 starts with 26 games overall, 3.56 ERA, 68 innings, 70 strikeouts, a 1.18 whip. He's a little bit older. He's not going too high, but he's somebody that I found myself, I'm not like, I'm not perplexed by him. He's somebody that, like, I understand he's a little bit older, breakout year, not reaching for him. His value, his ADP right now is SP90, pick 316. Like I said, you get a pitcher for the Atlanta Braves that had a pretty solid year last year. I think he's got good potential for, wins. The ERA is, pretty solid. I expect it to be similar. Decent strikeouts, didn't walk too many guys last year, 15 walks in 68 innings. Just a leader later round dart throw, for you guys that play in the deeper leagues. I know sometimes we don't always go super deep with our takes. So I kind of wanted to find a guy that, for those deeper league guys, when you're looking around and you're like, who do I grab here at the end of my draft? Hey, Grant Holmes might not be the worst way to look. And, he had a pretty good minor league track record for at least 2023 and 2024. So definitely just a name that you could look at, towards the end of your draft and maybe throw the dart that way.
Yeah. I got nothing to oppose it. So, good take. I don't know if I'm really going to touch him unless I'm in a 14 or 15 man league, but
deeper league take.
Yeah, but he's definitely somebody that has been at least climbing just a hair. But yeah, coming up next, we'll be talking about another guy that I could pick out and kind of break down and see why I've raised on him and why I haven't right after this.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Okay. I mean, that's going to be a good time. Can't believe we're already in March Madness, and opening day is actually next Thursday, which is kind of bananas. It's just a crazy year, man. All right, so let's get into this. So I guess a guy I really haven't talked about a lot, but somebody I'm actually a fan of is Mr. Michael Busch of the Chicago Cubs. He's another one I seem to kind of fall for, at least. I kind of am looking at him. I'm seeing what he's done during spring, and I'm definitely not, disappointed. 33 at bats, 8 runs, 2 doubles, a triple, a bomb, 12 ribs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, a stolen base. Batting .424, has an OBP of 457, a slug of 636, OPS of 1094. Like, he's looking good, straight up. Like, he's looking good. He's not showing off the power yet, but we all know he's got power. He showed it in stints, and that's probably my biggest gripe about him last year. But one thing we can't discount about him is he's been Dodgered for his whole career. This is the first time that he's really gotten out and had full-time playing. And I think now we're going to be able to say, hey, this is the year that we're going to see it. Yes, the first outing wasn't the best, but I mean, who plays good in Japan? I really just think they should stop that game, in all honesty. It's nice having an early game, but it's a tease, and you make the guys go across the world, and it's never a good game. We all were so scared after we all drafted Yamamoto the first week, and he had a bad outing last year, and then, oh my God, he turned out to be just fine outside of the injury. So don't discourage on Michael Busch, but Michael Busch still managed to put together a season, even though it was inconsistent. 496 at bats, 73 runs, 28 doubles, 2 triples, 21 bombs, 65 ribs, 2 stolen bases, and batted a nice 248. Like, I'm not mad at the batting average. I'm not mad at any of that stuff, because it's his first real year in the bigs, first time really getting like an everyday play. And that is the biggest difference. Like, when he played for the Dodgers, he played 27 games, but managed only to have 72 at bats. And it was so inconsistent. He can never get, like a real feel for the game. So last year was his true rookie year, in my opinion. You look back at what he's done in the minors, like, he had 27 home runs in 2023 before getting Dodgered. And that was through, 390 at bats. The kid has some serious power. He had 90 ribs that year, and he batted .323. He's had decent batting average his whole career. Like, even in 22, he batted .274 across, two different levels. Even in 21, had batted .267. And the power has been consistent. 20 home runs, 32 home runs, 21, and then 27. Like, and for 21 home runs in your first season in the bigs, it kind of just gets exciting. Also, first base hasn't really been that wonderful either. Like, the guys that should be, you should have somewhat confidence. You still have question marks, and you don't really feel great out of, like, I feel like the top 5. So it's just kind of a weird year for that position. Usually it's a strong position. I feel like Michael Busch is somebody that is going at a decent price that we can definitely count on. And I believe that, first base isn't his only eligibility on Yahoo, at least.
Might have third.
I think he does have third. I'm confirming now, since I drafted him the other day. Yeah, he just has first on Yahoo right now, but I think he might get third base eligibility at some point too, because they talk about mixing him in there. So if he does, it's going to be fun. So Michael Busch is somebody you definitely can't overlook. I think you should draft him. The ADP price is right, and he might be a little sleeper for you that ends up, being a production of power, decent average, and on that team this year, as long as he's hitting somewhat decent in the lineup, should produce both runs and ribs.
Yeah, he's been hitting 4th. It's a good spot for Michael Busch. And his ADP right now is the 21st first baseman, around pick 250. I got him up at number 18 at first base. So I'm about 3 spots higher.
Got him way higher than that.
Yeah, no, I like Michael Busch. Maybe not as much as you, Matt, but I do like him. Definitely more than ADP. I would take him higher than that. He's got a lot of upside. You talked about his prospect pedigree over with the Dodgers, but they just never really gave him the chance to play. So, Matt, great take. Great name to highlight there. I got another first baseman. We'll stay in sync here. I want to go with Spencer Torkelson of the Detroit Tigers. He was banged up last year. He didn't really get the chance to, show off, continue his growth, right? Because if we look back at 2020, 2023, Spencer Torkelson started to find his stride, and he was fantasy relevant. He played 159 games, 606 at-bats. He had 88 runs, 34 doubles, a triple, 31 homers, 94 RBIs, 3 steals, 67 walks to 171 strikeouts. It's not great, but, it's getting better for a guy like Torque. And he had 233. So I truly think that, he played 92 games last year. I guarantee he played most of them banged up, because he just missed so much time. I'm telling you, this kid, can take off in a second, right? He might not be of the Casas, Pasquantino type, but yeah, that can really hit for a lot of power. He just hits the ball so hard and far, right? He could be that 30-plus homer guy. He's shown him 100 RBIs. Like, you can get the batting average up to around like 250-ish. Even look at him so far this spring. And we forget how young Torkelson is because he's been around so long, right? He's only 25. So at 25 years old, 15 games this spring for Torque, 37 at-bats, 5 runs, 4 homers, 9 RBIs, a steal, and he's hitting 297. Right. So you like what you see so far from the kid. His ADP is not outrageous, if I remember correctly here. Is he even lower than Michael Busch, which is crazy? Yeah. The 30th first baseman off the board, pick 456. So Torkelson is free 99 right now. It doesn't make sense for me to give up on a kid this early in his career when he showed such promise 2 years ago and then was hurt last year and is having a great spring training. Your deeper leagues, get him as a corner infielder if you need to. He can be your last pick, your dart throw, your bench bat, but definitely worth it for the 30 home run, 100 RBI upside that he brings to the table. I just think we're giving up on him too early.
Yeah, I don't like the under the hood stuff. In all honesty, that was my biggest gripe, I think.
Go back to 2023, look at the under the hood stuff. Looks great.
No, 23 was phenomenal. It was just the complete, not even drop off. That's hey, it's Sonny and Cher driving off the cliff at the end of the movie. It's bye. And I think it's a wrong reference, but yeah, we're saying.
I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah. It's peace out. All the hard contact, all the stuff that made him successful outside of his batting average that would have even, would have gave me a Joey Gallo feel to it is kind of gone. And Joey Gallo may be his upside or Cruz or back in the day, but I don't really see him being a full-time player that I really want to count on. He's a guy I'm pretty much just going to ride the wave with, but it's not going to kill you to draft him with your last pick of the draft and see if he pans out over the next week. You're not going to drop anybody through the weekend unless there's some crazy value on the waivers. But, maybe you try him out for a week, see if he's performing and see if you need to ride the wave or not before somebody else having beat them to the punch, essentially. Yeah. So, do we have time for another guy? Let's see. We do. We have one more guy. All right. So I don't really have one offhand. Let me just check this real quick. And then if not, I'm handing it over to you.
I got you.
So yeah, you take it. I don't really have one that's really.
I actually have a great one, Matt. I do, because I don't think we've talked about this guy at all, and he's somebody we talk about off camera quite a bit. Let's talk about Kristian Campbell of the Boston Red Sox. That's a great name to talk about right now. I actually haven't even fully slotted him into my second baseman rankings, but honestly, he'd probably be somewhere around 16, I'd say, maybe around 16, 17. If you don't know who Kristian Campbell is, he's one of the top prospects in all of baseball. He's somebody that they're talking about. Inside sources in Boston are kind of saying that, he has the job for second base. So that means, to me, he should be drafted in almost every single league unless you're playing in a super, super shallow league, just because of the upside. And, he's actually the number 7 prospect in all of baseball, according to MLB.com. He's 6'3", 190, plays middle infield, like I mentioned. He's got, great speed. He's got pop. He can hit for average. He's kind of almost one of those do-it-all kind of guys. Read off his stats, from the minors in, 2024. He hit 330 over 115 games with 430 at-bats, 94 runs, 32 doubles, 3 triples, 20 homers, 77 RBIs, with 74 walks to 103 strikeouts, which is great, and 24 steals. The kid is one of those do-it-all players. He's 22 years old. He's at the age where, he is, can take that step to the bigs, right? Not having a great spring training. They did have like a game that didn't count. It was sort of like a prospect showcase type of game. I believe that's what they called it. He had a great game that day. I believe he went like 3 for 4 with a homer. Him and Marcelo Mayer went back to back. Other Boston Red Sox prospect. I'll say this: if they fully announce this kid's making the team, his ADP in drafts is going to rise very high and very fast. I'd say take advantage of it. If you draft him this weekend and the information isn't still fully out there yet with Campbell, you could throw your dart that way as a bench player. After you get your full roster filled out, throw the dart, because I think the information is going to come out sooner than later that either he's going to make the team for opening day, or if not, he's going to be a guy that's going to get that call up because maybe they want to still kind of manipulate some service time with him. But Kristian Campbell's a name to keep on your radar for sure. Keep your ear to the ground with him.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, with the new rules, there's no reason they can't promote him right off the bat.
Yeah. They just have so many prospects. I don't know which way they're going to go with Anthony and Mayer, and they could put any one of them on the roster for opening day.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, here's the thing. I like him a lot. It's a good call out. Like, I'm looking at Fangraphs and what they rank, like, prospect-wise, right? 45 game power out of 60, 55 raw power out of 60, speed 60 is 60, and the fielding is 30 or 40. So, like, the fact that the fielding is also 30 or 40, that also, kind of can keep him on the field. Like, as fantasy managers, we don't look at defense, right? But one thing that makes a prospect, a young prospect, be able to get out on the field and actually make the team earlier or keep their job even when they're fighting through struggles is fielding well. That's what keeps the playing time rolling. So with Campbell being a good fielder, and then also I think has the potential to do it. It's not like he has bad plate discipline even through spring. 7 walks to 15 strikeouts isn't a bad deal. He has a good eye. He just hasn't been able to make good contact. But once he starts, it might unleash like all hell break loose. So Kristian Campbell is somebody you definitely want to at least keep an eye on. These guys that break camp usually break camp for a reason. So you want to get some shares. But Dom, if you have nothing else to add, I'm going to get us out of here. Guys, please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review, do everything you can to share this show. And if you want to get on that listener league, join that subtext. Links in the description below. This is it. We're draft time, anything. And if you have some last minute questions, hop on that subtext. We're here for you. Peace out, guys.
See ya.